Welcome to the webinar on standard skills-based report cards, the second half, which is doing the actual report cards. We're going to go over today how to set up the report card project and assign it to students, and then we'll go into a little bit on how do you format your actual report card and then print them. So thank you for coming. So we're going to start today under the advanced skills. And under more skill editing jobs, we can come down to the bottom and edit the report card field selections. We need this in order to set up what we want in the report card, so we can figure out which are the skills, which is the attendance, or anything else that we want to send to the report card. So we're going to look at a couple of the projects that are already out here. So I'm going to start by looking at the kindergarten report card, and when I highlight that, all my other tabs become available. And as I hover, it's also going to give me some information about what sort of things are in these tabs. The first one we're going to look at is our school information, and it also lets me know that it's going to be coming from the database configuration. So the license name, it can bring in the school name, and that comes from the actual license file. But everything else can come from the school configuration that you set up. So if you want to be able to bring in your address, if you have more than one elementary school and they're going to use the exact same report card, then you can say, well, let me bring that information from my configuration so I don't have to put out two different templates. I can use just the one. And you can pick any of this information that you want, anywhere from the 3-character school code, the phone number, the address, through the city, state. And this one combines the city, state, and zip already together, so it makes it much more compressed for you. You can bring in your email and your URL, which is the address for the school site. If I don't want something, if I just do a single click, it'll highlight the one item I'm on. If I do a control click, I can toggle between turning it on or off. As you go from one tab to another, it's recommended that you click the Save button. If you forget to when you go to the next tab, it'll remind you, which I think is a really great feature. I didn't change anything, so I'm going to say no. In the biographic, this is basically anything when you're in the little bio button. All of your biographical fields are here. So if I come to the bottom, I can scroll up. I'm not bringing in the year of grad for kindergarten, probably not applicable, but I can scroll up and down, see all of my fields. If they are an MMS field that comes in the generations, then I'm going to have descriptions. If it's a school added field or a state added field, I might not have descriptions that go with it. But if I scroll up and down the list, I'm going to be able to see that, oh, I'm bringing in the homeroom teacher name that I've stored in the student. I'm not bringing in the homeroom, I'm just bringing in the homeroom teacher name. And for kindergarten, that would make sense. And as I finish scrolling up, I'm going to see at the very top that we have the student name in two different formats. One is last name, first name, middle initial. The other is first, middle initial, last. And we're using this one when we're bringing in the last first. But it's your choice which way you want to see the student name. And because I didn't do any change, I didn't click in here, my Save button isn't active. So it doesn't remind me that I have to do it. I'm going to skip skills for a minute and go over to attendance. I'm going to do the simple ones first. My attendance tab gives me the ability that in my daily operations, where I transfer my attendance summary totals, that says take the time frame that I want. So if I'm doing a quarter report card, I want to take quarter one and I want to set a date range that goes the first day of school to whatever the date is, and I can process, and that will total up my absent tardy dismiss and put a total out in a record that I have access to, the same as you would with your regular subject grade report card. Same process. But in here I can specify for which of the marking periods I want to work with which totals do I want to see. So I have access to total absences, tardies, and dismiss. And I also have access to the unexcused absences. I don't have access to an excused absence, just an unexcused. So it gives you the option to say which ones do you want to show on your report card. And it's just a matter of you click one, you hold the control key, you click the other ones you want. And here we're bringing in quarter one, quarter two. We haven't started bringing in quarter three, quarter four yet, but I can go ahead and highlight those. If I want to bring in the totals, those are always up here where I have the option to bring in total absences, total unexcused. You can bring in tardies and dismissals if you're like. It's entirely your choice which of these totals you want to bring. Okay?
Yep.
And once you have those, before I go to the next slot, I can save this setting. And it just says, yep, I saved it. I can now go to the next piece. Some schools like to see a GPA. Some of them use it as the average of the student grades if they're doing numeric grades. Not all schools do. The same will be true for honor roll. You know, am I doing an honor roll, and if so, which ones do I want to see? Kindergarten, I'm probably not doing the honor roll yet. When we get into first and second grade, we might see some things here that I want to work with. The course grades is where I can bring in my overall grade that's the subject grade. So if you have your teachers that are for the specials that might not be doing the individual assignments, or they might have just a sort of a generic skill that says this is their conducted effort, but if they also want to be able to show that they're going to put in an actual subject grade, then I have the ability to select those also. I'll see more of that when I get into the first and second grade. The skills side is where you can pick up what skills you want to see and for what marking periods. So if I hit my control key, I can bring in the third or fourth quarter skills. And in order to see them here, I would have to repopulate the box. So what that does is it's going to say, take my skills that are in that skill group, and it's going to show me for each of these. So I'm seeing the second marking period, for the second term, so I get a little longer description here, which skill group it is, which is my BSLITK, what the actual skill is, and then whether I want the grade or the teacher name. So it lets me bring those in because different skills could have different teachers. Usually not if I have just the one skill group. But this lets me bring in what am I working with. And there is an overall note for each term. So I can bring in the note, but not necessarily the teacher, because I'm probably going to have the homeroom teacher as the teacher name. So if I repopulate it, it highlights everything. And I might not need the teacher a whole bunch of times. So that's where I can come in and just alternate everyone down, every other line. I'm holding my control key down to deselect the teacher for each skill. And the reason I'm doing that is it just, when I go to insert the merge field, I don't have all of these teachers that I have to go around. It takes time now to unselect them, but later it's going to be a big help. The note,
okay.
Go ahead.
Ask you a question? So in this screen, I should be seeing all of the skill groups that I have set up.
Correct.
Okay, so we're taking the teachers off because there's...
It's the same teacher for every skill. So if I have my my English skills that I'm working with, and those English skills are oral expression, I have speaks in an audible tone, expresses ideas clearly, Under written expression, I have uses grammar correctly, uses correct sentence structure, punctuation, capitalization, shows growth in writing. Under listening, they listen attentively and they follow directions. Each one of those skills has a teacher assigned with it. It's just the way they happen.
The individual skill or the skill group?
It's actually the skill group, but the way this is set up, it shows me each and every one. And that's because we don't always want all of them. If I had inadvertently left all of my skills checked, even though I know they're not needed until later in the year, then I'm going to see that. And so I might not be bringing them in, but maybe for that one I do want to bring it in. I would have preferred the option to bring in the teacher ones for each skill group, and that would have made this a whole lot easier. I believe that there is an enhancement request in that lets me choose which items I want to see, so I don't have to do this every time. Okay? Now the other thing I want to mention is on the notes. Your notes for the teachers are free form and they will grow as big as you need. The physical limit per note is a gig, which is basically about the size of the entire War and Peace novel. And I'm hoping your teachers aren't typing quite that much. But if you have a set area on your report card of where you want to put the notes, you can over here on the right limit how many characters the teachers will, it'll tell the teacher how many characters are going to print on the report card. So you can come down and say, okay, I only want 250 characters to print, which all things considered is still a decent sized paragraph. So when the teachers come in, I can come in and say, oh, I only want 250 characters, or I only want 150 characters. The teacher can type more than that, but we're only going to put that much on the report card. If you don't put any number there, then you're saying there is no limit. And depending on how you set up your report, depends on whether that rectangle, that cell that you're going to put the note into, whether it will expand if it goes over that or not, because that can modify your layout. Okay? So it gives me the option. And then we're going to save it. So you head up each, I did too say, okay. You're going to go into each of your tabs as needed and decide what you want to see. You come back to the report card project name, and then you come to the bottom and you build the text file, the source for doing the merge. And it lets me know that it brought in 122 fields. If I had not taken all those teachers out, I probably would have had 200 some odd. So it just means less that I have to wander through when I do my actual report. If I want to print what those fields are to make it easy when I do my merge, I can come over and hit the print button. And what that does is it's going to show me for the project I'm highlighted on and what the name of that text file is, or the name of the Word document that I'm going to use. It then shows me the information I brought in. What's in the EMF, EMA, CMB, CON. This is what's in the biographic. I'm bringing in the student name and the homeroom teacher name. What are my skills that I'm bringing in? I'll go through a whole bunch of skills, and I have the first marking period, the second marking period. Here it gives me the longer, this is the skill group, and these are the individual skills that I'm going to work with. So it's going to show me that for each of the courses. It shows me what attendance I'm bringing in. And in this report card, that's all I have. But I can print this, so I have it as a reference when I go to import. So I know what I'm going to insert where in my merge file. If I look at the report card for the second grade, I can come in and see whether I want honor roll or GPA. Am I bringing in course grades? So for second and first grade, I'm bringing in some of the grades. So here I have the option if I want to see the grade. I can see whether or not I want the comment text of a canned comment, whether or not I want to see the note, and again I can limit it, and whether I want to see just the comment code, because I might have a key somewhere else on the report card that shows them what those comment codes are. So I can bring either one, and in here I can bring in the teacher name. The left side is I say which grade bins do I want to do this for. So I can come in and say, well, I don't need final averages, mid-year average or exam. I don't need my semester 2, but I do want quarters 3 and 4. And I would repopulate the boxes. So for the courses that I have selected, which is pretty much everything except kindergarten, and I would select those by selecting the first one or the bottom one, go to the top, select the other one or whatever order I want to select them in, and then I can use my control key, hold that down and click on kindergarten and get rid of kindergarten. So it lets me pick and choose what I want to see. If I bring the teacher name in from the subject, then I only have the teacher once. So it makes it a lot easier. Because maybe for my art, computers, health, I might want to show the teacher because it's different than the regular homeroom teacher. When you're bringing in the subject grades, you can pick which grade point value group you want to bring them in from. And you can indicate whether you want the full grade or the alternate grade. The full grade could be numeric. My alternate grade can be letter. So it might be that the various assignments that the teacher has entered have given the student a 94 average. Now, depending on the school, that could be an A. It might be an A minus. All depends on what your pattern is that you set up. So that's all you need to do here. And because I repopulated, I have not only my quarter 1s and quarter 2s, but as I continue down, I would also have quarter 3 and quarter 4. So it just depends on what I want to see. I can save that. The attendance in the first and second grade, I'm also tracking. I'm tracking tardies and days present, but not unexcused. I'm not splitting out the unexcused separately. So I'm going to show how many days they're present, how many absences, and how many tardies. And I do that again for each quarter. So it gives me that option. Skills-wise, I have my different skills for each of the different areas. I don't need the kindergarten skills because it's a first and second grade. So I can make sure I take that out so it's not here. But I have my other skills that I want to select. And I can again bring in third and fourth. And then repopulate. So you do the same thing you did on the other one for kindergarten as you come through. Get rid of the name. Now this one I don't think they had any notes. So it's just a matter of, thank you, just the actual grades. And the note all depends on whether or not when they set up the skill group and the individual skills was whether or not they checked they wanted to include notes. And what's nice with the toggle is it just lets you go from one to the next. If I selected the wrong one, I just click on it to include it again, and that lets me work with that. Now I'm still in the first marking period, but because each of my subjects has its own skills. So I'm doing my conduct and effort for computers, my conduct and effort for foreign language. I have my promotion, doubtful, or a conference was requested, and I do all of those down for quarter one, and then I would continue for the rest of them. I'm not going to do all of them right now. I'm just going to do that far. I have a question of whether or not we need to build the attendance totals prior to selecting the fields under the attendance tab. And the answer is no, you don't need to build them first, but you will need to calculate them. You will need to do that process before you print your report cards. So if the marking period ends November 4th, then, and report cards might not be going out till the 10th, maybe on the 8th or the 9th, I'm going to go ahead and transfer my attendance. And that way those numbers will be out there ready for the homeroom teacher or for a parent to go ahead and print to show what do they have up there so far. So that's very, very much doable. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save. I didn't get rid of all of them. And we're going to see that when I come back over to my project name and rebuild, I'm going to have a much higher field count. My biographical information for my first and second grade report card is I'm bringing in the school year. So I would be able to see the 10-11, so I don't have to change that on the report card each time. I'm going to bring in the homeroom teacher name, and I'm going to be bringing in the student's name. Now on this report card, it's first, middle, initial, last. Where on the kindergarten, it was last, first, middle, initial. School information, I'm just bringing in the school name. When I come over to the project, I'm going to go ahead and build. And I'm up to 563 fields. Because by the time I bring in all my subject grades and all my skills, and I'm doing 4 quarters, it's, oh, just a few there. So it can be worth the time to take out the homeroom, the teacher name from the skills, because it just cuts that list down tremendously. Again, I can print to show what's out here. So there's the school information, there's my biographical, the individual skills that I want to bring in, and there's going to be a whole lot of pages of those, because I'm doing first marking period, second marking period, third and fourth. And then I'm going to get into the course grades, where I'm seeing for each of the grades I want to bring in the appropriate quarter grade for each subject. And if I find I don't need the overall grade, if I'm saying on handwriting or on art computers, if I'm only doing the conduct and effort and I'm not giving them an overall grade, then I have the option of not bringing those in when I do my course grades. And that cuts down on the list of what I'm working with. So it just makes it nice for me to be able to know what I'm working with. If I'm setting up a new report card, then I can give it a name. So I might be doing grades 3 to 4. And I can come in and select from my report card my doc report cards folder which ones I want. Now this one they're showing here is actually grades 3 to 8. So they have sort of a generic report card that goes for the whole thing. You might opt that that's a good place to start, but it's not what I want to continue with. But this pathing is usually under the local C drive, and that's the C drive of the server, inetpub, www.root, MMSGB for our gradebook, and then the doc report cards. This is where we store the Word documents and the text files that I'm building as my source. So I want to do that and or give myself access to it. So I can go ahead and add that in. If I know I want it to be 3 to 8, I can actually make that change and add it in. When I highlight this, I can actually say, well, I want to copy one to another. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to highlight grades 1 to 2 and I want to copy it. Then I'm going to come down to 3 to 8, and I want to paste it. And that just means that all my setup work is going to be already done. So if my 3 to 8 layout is similar, is it already selected the school name and or the school year? The bio is set up the same as what I worked with. My skills are all there. I might have to do something different with different skills, but my attendance is set up, my courses are set up, so it's already ready to go. And it might be the only difference I need to do is a little bit of difference in the course grades and in the skills. So this is a great way to say, okay, here's my template, pull it all in, and I'm ready to go. So it makes it nice that it's that easy to set up another project. The Word document does need to be either a DOC or a DOCX. Now, whether you're using Microsoft Word, Google Word, or any other program, as long as it ends, the file extension is DOC or DOCX, go right ahead. Any of those will work. So now that we have report card projects, and the minimum I need to give to the students is I need the name of the project. Once I have these, I can use the X in the corner, and now under Advanced Skills, we can go to Operations